Okay, guys, so this is lesson 6.2, inverse functions. Okay, so the symbolism for the inverse of a function is if you have f, then the symbolism is f to the negative first, inverse. Okay, I will normally make it an f of x, and then the symbolism I will use is f to the inverse of x. Okay, sometimes Weaver puts an x, sometimes they don't. They mean the same thing. Okay, so when you do an inverse, you guys, the x and y switch. So if the point AB is on the graph of f, then the point BA is on the graph of the inverse. So the x's and the y's switch. Okay. Okay, so question 1, list the domain and range for this function. Okay, so this is super easy. Let's make it a set, so put a brace. And domain is just all of the x values, which are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, the range is all of the y values, put it in braces, 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Very easy. Okay. To find the inverse, you take your f of x and you switch all the x and y's. So everybody do a brace. 0, 0 stays 0, 0. 1, 2 becomes 2, 1. 2, 4 is 4, 2. 3, 6 is 6, 3. 4, 8 is 8, 4. And you close it off. Now, this d to the negative first, maybe draw an arrow right there. And what they're saying is find the domain of the inverse. And then obviously that one is the range of the inverse. So look at this inverse that you've just found right here that I'm highlighting in pink. And the domain is a brace, and then it's just a list of all the x's. So 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And the range is all of the y's, which are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, like that. Okay? Okay, now off to the side, I want you to write this down. This is super important, okay? Domain with a colon, range with a colon, domain of the inverse with a colon, and range of the inverse with a colon. Okay? Someone talked to me about the correlation between the domain and the range of the original f of x and the domain and range of the inverse. Talk to me. They switch, right? Why do they switch? Well, because we switch the x's and y's. That means switching the domain and range. So take your pencil. This is super important. And I want you to draw an arrow from the domain of the original to the range of the inverse. And then from the range of the original to the domain of the inverse. They will always be the same. Okay, let's write that down. Always the same. The things that have arrows to each other will always be identical. Big thing you need to understand. Okay? Okay, in order for something to have an inverse, it must be 1 to 1. So 1 to 1, an easy way to say if something's 1 to 1, it means no y values repeat. Okay, so question 2, is this 1 to 1? Look at the y values, 2, 5, negative 2, positive 6. Is it 1 to 1? Yes, it is. Okay, now this is a big question right here. Find f inverse of 2, f inverse of negative 2. I've seen this a lot, so the probability of you seeing that, guys, pretty high. So maybe let's put some stars like this, okay? So let me just explain it, you guys. If this is your f, underneath that, everybody go f to the negative first is. So let's find the inverse. So the inverse would be 2, negative 1, 5, 0, negative 2, 2, 6, 4. So I just switched all those. Now what they're saying is this. Look at the inverse, which is just what I wrote. And if x is a negative 2, what is y? So if you look at those, it's this right here, guys. So if x is a negative 2, what's y? A 2. So f inverse of negative 2 is 2. So make sure you look at the inverse. X being a negative 2, what's your y? Okay? Who says, I gotcha? Let's see. Okay, great. Okay, back at example 1. They're asking if this is 1 to 1. We'll look at the y. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Nothing repeats. Is it 1 to 1? Yes, it is. Okay. Okay. Why do we keep talking about this 1 to 1? Because if something's not 1 to 1, then it's not going to have an inverse. Okay, so if we look at example 3. I want everybody to take your pencil and I want you to draw a horizontal line. Nah, let's not do right there. Let's do right here. Write a horizontal line right there. Okay, I'm trying to decide if y values repeat. Okay, look at this dot right here. Everybody label that -2, +4. That right there is +2, +4. Do my y's repeat? Yes or no? Yes. So is this 1 to 1? No. So the answer is no. Now, is it really necessary to write those points? No, but I'm trying to show you if a horizontal line hits 2 points, the y values are the same, so it fails. It's just like a function is the vertical line test, 1 to 1 is a horizontal line test. Okay, so look at question B. Draw a horizontal line. Imagine grabbing that red horizontal line, moving it up and moving it down. Will it ever hit my graph more than once? Talk to me. No. So is it 1 to 1? Yes, it is. Okay. Now look at question C. I don't know what this graph looks like. You guys are so smart, we could take the time to graph it. I know you could do it right. But do I really need to? Here's the dominating exponent, right? Because it's the biggest. So it's even, so I know it's going to take the shape of a parabola. It's a positive, so I know it's going to open up. So it's going to go up, up. And who knows what's going to happen in the middle. There might be some waves or, you know, who knows. The point is, it fails the horizontal line test because I hit it twice. So is this 1 to 1? No, it's not. And I'm done. Okay? Who says I'm good? Let me see. Okay, great. Okay. Question 4. Let's think about this. If a graph has 2 x-intercepts, then it is not 1 to 1. Don't shout out. Okay, look right here. Here's your xy axis. Here's an x-intercept. Here's an x-intercept. The graph goes, who knows, around those points. Is that 1 to 1? Talk to me. Yes or no? No, because if I draw a line right there, I just hit it twice. So if a graph has 2 x-intercepts, then it's not 1 to 1. That is a true statement. Okay? All right. Now, some of you have not learned 6-1. Okay? So some of this is going to connect back to 6-1. I don't think it's going to confuse you. It actually might help you with 6-1 if you can understand me. Okay? So this right here is f of f inverse of x. Okay? Underneath that, let's write this down. This means plug f inverse of x in for x into, someone tell me, into what? Into, you take this guy and you plug it into that guy, which is, come on guys, you're so smart. Everybody say what letter of the alphabet that is. F. So it's into f of x. This one right here means plug this guy, which is f of x, into, now you all better talk to me, into what, guys? Let's say, first of all, let's say in for x, and then let's say into, now you all better talk to me. F inverse of x, yeah, exactly. Okay, okay, so example 5 showed that these are inverses. Okay, so take your pencil, and I want you to cut your paper in half. Okay, right here, I want you to go f of g of x, and on the other side, I want you to go g of f of x. If these are inverses, when I plug them into each other, then I'm going to get an x. Okay, now that doesn't mean you can fake it. You have to show your work and you have to do it properly, and you should get an x. I know it's going to work, guys, because it says show. Okay, Okay, everybody watch closely. See this g of x? Replace it with what g of x is, which is 7x plus 4. So now I'm finding f of 7x plus 4. So I go into this yellow f of x. Right here, where I see an x, I replace it with 7x plus 4. So I have 7x plus 4 minus 4 over 7. I want everybody to freeze right there. Okay? I said this on 6-1. I'm going to say it again on 6-2. Do not go ahead of me right here, okay? Please. If you answer x equals something, you are very confused. We are not solving for x. All we're doing is just plugging it in and then simplifying, okay? Look at what I have on the right-hand side, okay? If you're writing, I want you to stop unless you're behind, okay? Can I cancel those 7s right now? No, I can't. It's rude. Who is it rude to? Both of the 4s. You have 4 people and you only invited 2 people to the party. That's rude. Do not exclude those people. So you cannot do the 7s. Okay? What can you do? The 4s go away, right? So 4 minus 4 goes away. So now my next step is 7x over 7. Now my 7s could cancel because I only have 2 people in the picture and everybody's got a 7. So my answer is x and I'm done. Okay? 2 things I want you to add. Go up to the top and put an asterisk. And I want you to write the words, take one step at a time. Now I want you to look forward and I want to show you why. Okay? Just look forward and don't write for just a second. Imagine you're the teacher. The 7s can't cancel, right? And your student does this. Cancel the 4s, cancel the 7s, doesn't write any of this, and gives me an x. I don't know that you canceled the 4s before the 7s. For all I know, you did the 7s and then the 4s. So I can't give you credit for that. Okay, so take one step at a time so that I know that you know how to cancel properly. Okay, let's do the next one nice and slowly. Okay, if you have not watched 6-1, okay, watch this closely, particularly closely. Look, take this f of x and replace it with what f of x is. So this is g of x minus 4 over 7. G of x minus 4 over 7 just means this. Go into g of x, right here, where you see an x, put in x minus 4 over 7. Okay, so everybody goes 7, parenthesis, x minus 4 over 7 plus 4. One step at a time. Everybody in the room tell me, can I cancel my 4s? No, because this is a 4. This is really a negative 28, right? Plus it's tied to the x. So I can't cancel the 4s, but what can I cancel? The 7s. So we're just going to do the 7s. And now we have x minus 4 plus 4. And now my 4s cancel. And now I get an x. Okay? They're only going to be equal to x, you guys, if they are truly inverses. If they're not inverses, you won't get an x. Okay? All right. Look at this picture. Okay? This is important and a little confusing, so I want you to watch. Okay? So here is your f of x. Right here. Okay? Now look what you do. You take this line, y equals x, and the red is wet paint, and you fold it across the green. So look what happens. See this part that's really close? It goes right there. See this part that's kind of far away? It goes right there. See this AB? It goes to BA. This is a big one. See the original red one where it hits the line y equals x? My inverse is going to touch that as well. And then you curve it in, and that's your inverse. Okay? Now, the way I teach this is kind of confusing at first, and if you don't like it, I'll teach you an option B, but the way I teach it, you can get it quick, okay? So look what you're going to do. You're going to grab your pencil, and the first thing I want you to do is draw that line y equals x, okay? Now, watch this, okay? When I say diagonal, look forward because you're going to get confused if you don't. Look at this. When I say full diagonal, I'm talking about that length. That is a full diagonal. When I say half a diagonal, I'm talking about this. This is half of a diagonal, okay? So look what you do. Watch closely, okay? See the distance from here to that line y equals x? What's the distance? Half a diagonal. Follow the same line and go the same distance on the other side. That's where that guy's going, okay? Look at this guy. How far is he from the green? Half diagonal. Go half diagonal the other way. See where the black hits the green? I know my inverse is going to hit there as well. Let's do this last one. Look at this. Half diagonal, hit it. Okay. Now, all these lines right here, guys, where I like measured the distance, I really don't want you to do that. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really don't want you to write these red lines like the half a diagonal thing. I don't want you to draw the lines. I want you to just go, well, that's a half and that'd be a half. So then look what I do. I just connect my dots. There's my answer. I label it F inverse of X and I'm done. Okay? If you don't like the diagonal thing, let me just show you. Even if you understand this diagonal thing, maybe it's going to get complicated. So I just want you to watch for 2 seconds, okay? Actually, I want you to write this down. The black graph is f of x. This ordered pair is -2, -1. Okay, make sure you write this down. This dot right here is -1, 0. This dot right here is 2, 1. So to graph the inverse, I switch those x's and y's, -1, -2, 0, -1, 1, 2. So this red one is left 1 down 2, I got it. 0, -1, I got it. Right 1 up 2. They all hit at the same spot. It gives you the same thing, okay? I think the points takes longer, but it's a little more accurate, especially if you get confused. So do it however you want, okay? Okay, here are the steps for finding an inverse. Simple. Switch the x and y, solve it for y, and label it the inverse. It's easy, okay? Here we go. Here's an equation. Find the inverse, okay? I am going to give you some steps, okay? So let's just kind of, somehow you find a place to put the steps, okay? So the first thing that I want you to do, this is what I think you should do. The first thing I should do is graph f of x, okay? Everybody write down y equals 2x minus 4. That's a line. So everybody go down 4, make a dot, then up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. Take your pencil, draw in the line. Okay, easy. The second thing I think that you should do is to find the domain and the range of f of x. This should just be instantaneous for you. Look at the graph. Domain is x. Start small. Go to the right. Now that I ask you, please answer. What's the domain, everybody? All real numbers. Okay? Please don't answer until I ask because I want everyone to think. Range is y. Start low. Move up to the top. Everybody tell me what's the range? All reals. Okay? The third thing I think you should do is find the domain of the inverse and the range of the inverse. Okay, look what I want you to do. See this domain? Put it right there. See this range? Put it right there. So I just found the domain and the range of the inverse. I don't even know what the inverse is, and I don't have a graph. I don't care because I know that those flip-flop. So I just do it at the beginning, okay? Okay, the fourth thing I want you to do is to graph the line y equals x. Okay, so take your pencil and draw that line y equals x. That's your line of reflection for inverses. Okay? The next thing I want you to do is to graph the inverse, doing the diagonal thing. Okay? So watch this. They're all going to hit at the same spot, which is right there. Half diagonal, half diagonal. This guy right here, full diagonal, other side full diagonal. Look at this one. This is a diagonal and a half. Diagonal and a half goes there. This is 2 full diagonals, 2 full diagonals. You get the idea, and draw that guy in. Okay? Label it. So label the new guy f inverse of x. Label the first guy f of x. The last thing I want you to do is to find the equation of the inverse, but you must show work. You cannot get it from the graph. They're not going to give you credit if you don't. If you do, get it from the graph. Okay, so look at your equation. Make your x a y, make your y an x. Everybody go x equals 2y minus 4. Okay, now solve it for y. So pull your 4 over and it becomes a positive. So everybody go 2y equals x plus 4. Everybody tell me what to do now to solve for y. Divide by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 separately. And then it's y equals, but I know I have to label it as an inverse. So f inverse of x equals. I could write it as x over 2. X over 2 is kind of awkward. There's like a 1x over 2. Then push the 1/2 in front. So that's 1/2 x plus 2. That's your answer, and you got it. Okay, now double check that this equation matches the red graph. So look, guys, go up 2, make a dot, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. I got it. My red graph is that equation. They lie on top of each other. Okay? Okay, question, honey? Go ahead. You have to talk really loud. No, tell me. Are you sure? Okay. All right. I really don't hear well, and especially if it's a girl. So all girls have to talk deep and loud so I can hear you. Okay. Okay, here we go. First equation, y equals the square root of x plus 2. That's a square root graph shifted where, everybody? Left 2. So everybody go left 2, make a dot. Tell me the stretch on a square root. Do you remember? 1, 1, right 1, up 1, go back to that point, and then what? It's not 2, 4. It's not right 2, up 4. That's a parabola. It's 4, 2, right? So right, correct, right 4, up 2. So there's your graph right there. Okay? Now let's find the domain of that graph. It doesn't tell you how to write it. So you can write it in interval or inequality or set. I'm just going to do interval. So start from the left, travel to the right. The first place it hits it is a -2. Does it actually touch it? Talk to me. Right here, look at that. Does my graph touch an x value of -2? Yes. So I close it with a bracket. On the midterm, this is so sad. On the midterm, look what people did. Check this out. And I'm like, okay, not quite sure what that is. So I marked it wrong. And then I'm going to have Weber put it up on their Elmo and show everyone, and we're going to have to decide, do we give them points or not? Please don't do that. I'm begging you. Please don't do that on anything. Like, don't be wishy-washy. Be so crystal clear. Okay? And it goes on forever. Range is y. Start low. What's the smallest y that touches it? A 0. Does it touch it? Yes. See how clear my bracket is? And it goes up forever. The next thing I want you to do is domain and range of inverse. Now, I wouldn't actually do this on my quiz or test, but I just want you to know that 0 to infinity is exactly the domain of the inverse. The -2 to infinity is exactly the range of the inverse. What did we do next? Try not to look at the list, but do you remember what we did next? We graphed it, yeah. So graph that line of reflection first, which is right there. Okay, they all hit here, and then full diagonal, and it's going to curve up, and it's going to go like that. I know that if you don't label your points, they'll take points off. So label the first one f of x, label the second one the inverse. What's the last final thing I have to do on this thing, everybody? Find the equation. Make your x a y, make your y an x. So everybody go, x equals the square root of y plus 2. I'm trying to solve for y, and it's trapped in the square root. Is this right? Look, minus 2 minus 2. Is that right? No, that 2 is trapped. You cannot do that. What do, everybody? You square both sides. So now I have y plus 2 equals x squared. I'm going to pull my 2 over. So now I say f inverse of x is equal to x squared minus 2. And now I'm confused. That's the graph of a parabola, and my red graph is not a parabola. I mean yeah. Oh, I messed up on this. Oh yeah, that's a little weird. I'd put that in the wrong spot right here. This goes here. Now it's good. If I make a mistake, tell me. Don't let it be weird. That's okay. I don't want to do a bad job with you guys. Okay, so I'm confused because the red graph is not a parabola. So what's wrong? Say what? Yeah, it is a parabola. It's just like a piecewise parabola, and my domain is restricted to bigger than 0. So I'm good. This is still a parabola shifted down 2. It's just the right side because my domain is restricted. Who says gotcha? Let's see. Okay, great. Okay, question 9 and 10 and 11, then we're done. Okay, I'm going to go fast. Okay, first thing, graph the cubic. So everybody go y equals x to the third plus 1. I know that this is a cubic shifted where, everybody? Up 1. So go up 1 and make a dot. Then go right 1, up 1, left 1, down 1. The next one is 2, 8, which puts me 1 off my grid at the top. And let's see. The last mark on the left. Okay, so it curves like that. The second we draw that, let's label it f of x so we don't get confused. Okay. Everybody in the room, take a look at that graph and tell me what the domain is. Talk to me. Everything. Good. Talk to me about the range. Everything. What's the easiest thing to do right now? We can just, bam, do it. Switch them. Exactly right. Range of the original is the domain of the inverse and vice versa. Where do I always go now? I think the best place to go is the graph. Okay? So come over here to the graph. First thing I want you to do is to draw that line y equals x. Looks like that. Now I'm going to do my diagonal thing. If you don't like the diagonal thing, then do the ordered pairs. It just takes a long time if you do ordered pairs. Look at this. There's something wrong with my graph. Even if I labeled it f inverse of x. What did someone say?
You made it like straight instead of like curved.
Yeah, and so look what's supposed to happen. This is supposed to be 2, 8. So this is supposed to be 8, 2. Do you see how I'm like off? You know what I mean? So you just have to be like really careful with this. So if that's 2, 8, please make sure 8, 2 is on there. And try to make it look like it's still going up. Okay? Okay, so now I find the inverse. So everybody go x equals y to the third plus 1. Should I get rid of the cubed right now? How do I get rid of a cube? Tell me that. Cube root. Should I do that now? No. What do I do first? Move your 1, right? So you have y to the third equals x minus 1. Tell me what to do. Cube root. So I go cube root here, and I get f of x equals, tell me what goes right in front of the cube root. Do I do plus or minus? When do you do plus or minus? If it's an even power, right? Even root, excuse me. I did not do an even root, so I don't do the plus or minus. That's my answer, and I'm done. Did I do something wrong? Okay, so this needs to be to the negative first. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay, yes. You guys scared me. I had 7 people telling me at once. That feels scary. Is that all I did wrong? Okay, I love being your teacher because you guys crack me right away. That's beautiful. It's kind of scary though sometimes. Okay. Y equals x to the second minus 3. Okay, that's a parabola shifted. Talk to me. Down 3. Normal stretch, right one up one, left one up one, right 2 up, left 2, 4, left 2 up 4. Okay, everybody listen to this. Don't let this scare you, okay, but I want you to listen. When this class used to be offered through Utah State, like 8 years ago, I taught it then too, also, and they would give you a trick question. And they would say, here's your equation, tell me the inverse. Can someone tell me the inverse? There is no inverse. Yes, you are correct. Why?
I'm thinking it through.
Why is there no inverse? It's not 1-to-1. Bam. It's not 1-to-1. Okay? So, to make it have an inverse, they restrict you to just greater than 0. So that means take your eraser, get rid of the left side, and now it's 1-to-1. Right? Let's make sure we label it f of x. And now let's start finding all these things. Domain, start at the left, move to the right. The first, I'm going to write this in inequality form. Do this with me in inequality. So we're going to go x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay? Then range is y. The smallest is a 3, and it goes up from there. So we're going to say y is greater than or equal to 3. Now I'm going to reverse them. Thank you, negative 3. Now I'm going to reverse them. So this is going to be y is greater than or equal to negative 3. And this is going to be x is greater than or equal to 0. And that is wrong. What's wrong with that? We switch the x's and y's, right? So you have to make the domain x is greater than or equal to 3. And you have to make the y, or the range, y is greater than or equal to 3. Okay? The next thing is the graph. So draw that line of reflection. First thing I always do is I say, where did the purple hit the green? Put a dot right there because that's where my inverse is going to touch as well. So I already have a point. Diagonal and a half, diagonal and a half, curve it up. There we go. Okay, label it the inverse. Now let's find the inverse. Everybody go, x equals y to the second minus 3. Should I square root right now? What do I do? Move your 3. So y to the second equals x plus 3. Then I square root, and I get f inverse of x equals. Tell me what comes right after the equals. Plus or minus the square root of x plus 3. That is wrong. Why can't it be plus or minus? Well, actually, if you did the plus or minus, it wouldn't be a function anymore. Yes, it wouldn't be a function anymore. So, is it the plus or is it the minus? Which one is it? You know how I decide? Truly, this is how I decide. Look right here. If you had a negative in the front right there, you would have a regular parabola, or regular square root, pardon me, reflected across the x. So the graph would be actually like that. Is that what that red graph looks like? No. And I already got my graph, so I know it's just the plus. Okay? So that's it. Okay, question 11, and then we're done. Find the inverse of this. State the domain of f and its range using the inverse. Okay, so here's what they want, just so you guys understand. They want to know the inverse. And then they want the domain of the original and the range of the original. That's what they want. Okay? All right, there's one of these three things that I can find immediately, and it's very easy. What can I find very easily? The domain. Tell me the domain. X cannot be equal to -1. So I've got one of my three things. You guys, this is a rational function. Vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, even, odd, bounce, cross, all that business. They're not asking me to graph it. I wouldn't graph it if they didn't ask me. That's a lot of work, right? Just to get the range. So I'm going to blow off range for a second. I'm going to go for the inverse because I feel like that range is going to be kind of tricky. Okay, so this is y equals. So now I'm going to make it x equals. Everything on all the x's on the right now become y's. Okay, you guys listen. You should look at that and immediately say, this is what I'm going to do to solve this thing. Like it needs to be instantaneous, just like riding a bike. Boop, you haven't done it for a long time and you just jump on and you go. What do? 2 words coming out of your mouth. Not critical numbers. Cross multiply. Cross multiply. This is a fraction equals a fraction. You just cross multiply. Okay, this is kind of confusing right here, so hang tight with me here. Okay, cross multiply and you get 2y equals, distribute the x and you have xy plus x. Okay, everybody freeze. I'm solving for what? Tell me that. Solving for y, so freeze. Please watch and please freeze. If I divide it by 2, then I would have y equals xy over 2 plus x over 2. And the second I look at that, I know that that is wrong. That's weird. Why is it weird? You have y equals some kind of y. You can't have a y equal to some kind of y. So that is not right. Okay? Someone tell me what to do. Any ideas? This is kind of tough and you're going to see it often. What do? Go ahead. You're exactly right. You are exactly right. She said, move over the xy. So what you do is everything that has a y goes on one side, and everything that doesn't have a y goes on the other. Okay? So this is going to be 2y minus xy equals x. Now I have a problem. I'm trying to solve for y, but I can't add 2y and xy. I can't combine those. I can't divide by x because it's just going to make a mess. And besides that, what if x is 0? I just divided by 0, so I can't do that. Does anybody have any idea what we could do? Go ahead, honey. You're exactly right. Yay! You take out the y. This guy has a y and this guy has a y, so take out the y. Beautiful, honey. When you take out a y, you're left with 2 minus x. Well, now how do you get rid of the 2 minus x? Well, the 2 minus x is multiplied by the y, so you just divide. So your answer is the inverse is x over 2 minus x. So there's your inverse. Now, we have one more thing we have to do, and that is to find the range of the original. Say it again. No, they want the domain of f and its range. So they want the domain and the range of the original. How do I do that? I don't want to graph it. Who started talking to me? It was a girl. Who said it? Tell us, girlfriend. Find the domain of the inverse, and that's the range of the original. Wonderful. What's the domain of the inverse, honey? What's your restriction? So you say 2 minus x. No, you're good. 2 minus x cannot be 0, right? Negative x cannot be negative 2. X cannot be 2. That's the domain of the inverse. So the range of the original is y cannot be 2, and we're done. Who says I'm good? Let me see. Up high. Okay. You're tired, and you are burnt out, and you did not get enough sleep last night. Is that correct? I know you, and I keep looking at you, and I'm like, why do I keep talking about this? I was asking something, you're like, I don't know, but I just want to go to bed. That's what you said.